Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today, I'm happy to share a watch that I've been waiting eagerly since I first saw this limited series of 218 pieces released in 2016. This is the Lange Sohne Richard Lange pour le Merite, a simple three-hand watch with a big secret underneath its dial. You can see and you can purchase this handsome white gold time-only timepiece, perhaps one of the best available in that class, on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see additional photographs to show you why this watch is so special, accessories included in the sale, and of course complete pricing details for this and our entire collection of Lange Sohne timepieces. All that said, the action's right here. 40.5 millimeters across the round of the case, not including the crown. It's reasonably slim, though not excessively so, at 10.7 millimeters thick. The generously domed and sloped bezel means it will slide underneath any dress cuff or tight sleeve, however. Across the wrist, 49.2 millimeters, but nicely tapered to curve around the wrist rather than flare out. I believe you could wear this watch comfortably and with proportion on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. It has heft to it, thanks to the sizable lugs, the deep case, the use of precious metal, and of course, the timepiece, like all white gold watches, does have the same kind of glorious anonymity and subtle gleam as steel. In many ways, both because of the use of white gold and the simple three-hand dial, this watch is the ultimate Q-ship, a sleeper, a stealth machine. And believe me, it is a stealth bomber. I'll drop the bomb on you in a moment, but note the pin buckle. Lange's clever design with a retaining bar, so if you do like to strap the watch down to the smallest hole, if you have a small wrist like me, the pin buckle won't get pinned down tightly, so you can wear it on a small wrist without worrying whether you'll get it off. That's the advantage of that retaining bar. Lange, no detail too small. A nice, handsome white gold buckle to match a white gold watch. Thin, large scale, black matte finish, alligator leather strap, monotone stitch, folded edge, natural grain, black calfskin on the bottom. Oops, I gave away part of the game there. Now you'll note the case is handsome but simple. Contrasting satin finished and polished facets break up the mass of metal. The art design externally is present in force. As you can see, it's simple, although the nuance begins to jump out at you the closer you look. Note the step, the pronounced step, or knuckle between the lug structures and the case band. The contrast between the polish of the case back, the vertical section of the bezel in high polish before it breaks to the domed section, and then that beautiful satin finish running the periphery of the case itself. You'll even note that there's a small hairline bevel to the shoulder of the lugs that you could miss if you're not looking for it. The dial is handsome, and as with other Lange references, the base of the dial itself is silver, blackened with lacquered stylized Roman numerals running radially. You can see they are radially rayed, and we are using a watchmaker's 4. Alpha hands at center, which I love because I find they have a delicacy, a lightness, and altogether a more appropriate profile for dress watches than the heavier Dauphine style. And then you can see outboard, very subtly, there are small red shocks where red is actually splashed atop the black, so it's a very subtle tritone, black, white, and red, quite handsome, subtle, and well chosen. Now, you'll also note from this angle that the dial has multiple planes. There is a sub-register for seconds with a beautiful railroad-style seconds track and a counterweighted baton-style hand, and then there is a center dial that's at a somewhat lower plane than the remainder. All of matte finish. Like the rest of the watch, it's understated. You would never know that this movement contains 915 components. This is a masterpiece, folks. The original version of this watch came out in 2009. They made 250 pieces, 50 in platinum, and then 200 in rose gold. This one right here in white gold differs principally in that it features a stealthy combination of a blackened dial with a white gold case rather than the other watches which featured either platinum or rose gold with a white enamel dial. So losing the fired enamel dial, the watch gains a much more imposing visage and becomes something like Darth Vader's favorite dress watch. You'll note that the style is classically Lange, but you need to focus on the highlight through the skeletonized three-quarter style bridge, and that is the fusee and chain. You can see the chain being transferred from the mainspring barrel to the fusee, and then you can see how the train is driven from that point through the center wheel, set in chaton, through the engraved balance cock, and you'll even note that the escape wheel cock is fully engraved on this one, to ensure that constant force is delivered to the escapement. Here's how it works. If you were to see it from the side, these two essentially wheels would be profiled like cones. And like bicycles, where you have different sized gears front and back, you can effectively ease the force necessary to move the bicycle. So by changing your gear ratios, you reduce the amount of force necessary to keep the bike moving. And that's sort of what the fusée does. It's an invention of the pocket watch era in the Renaissance, and it was one of the first constant force devices designed to ensure that as the mainspring runs out of wind, as it runs out of force, by increasing the mechanical advantage via the fusée system, you can continue to deliver the same amount of force to the escapement by effectively changing the gear ratio with which the force is being pushed through the drivetrain. So that's how the fusée works, and you'll note that there is a chain that is 1/4 of 1 millimeter thick, composed of 636 individual components. The watch features Immaculate finish. That's its primary trick, although it does have a number of other statistics that are worthy of mention. A beat rate of 21,600 vibrations per hour. It does feature, if you pull the crown, because this is a watch that's all about precision after all, hacking or stop seconds, so you can synchronize precisely. A 36-hour power reserve because, well, let's face it, there is so much packed into this movement that the space for a large mainspring or a second barrel simply isn't there. But what a beautiful way to execute a three-hand watch. Now, this is the caliber L0441. Again, 915 parts, 636 in the chain itself, 33 jewels, entirely hand-finished. You can see that the golden hue is due to what's known as German silver. What it is a copper nickel zinc alloy, with copper being pronounced to the extent that there is that golden hue. It's not like rhodium plated Swiss brass. I'll show you what that looks like. That's more silvered. Here's a Jaeger-LeCoultre master calendar to demonstrate what rhodium plated brass looks like. That's more of a Swiss tradition. Lange pays homage to its Saxon tradition, which pre-communism was rooted in pocket watches, and this is what pocket watches looked like, both in materials and color and in architecture. With a large 3/4 style bridge, you can see that element that pays deference to the pocket watch era, a true center wheel like a pocket watch caliber, not like a modern wristwatch. You'll also note that the pivot jewel for that center wheel is set in screw-fixed golden chaton, and you'll see again further down the train. The point is simply to emulate the aesthetic of a vintage pocket watch. Likewise with the fully engraved balance cock, no two exactly alike. That is freehand engraved, that is not guilloché, that is not stamped. And again, this watch being a little bit special, it features a second hand engraved component just beneath, that being the cock for the escape wheel, and you'll note that even that features a black polished cover. And you'll note just how much black polish is present on this movement. As I move it through the light, you can see the highest standard of optical finish applied broadly across many surfaces. You'll also note that with Lange, there are two types of screws: polished screws, which are used for the adjustment of the movement, and kiln-fired blue oxidized screws, which are used for physical assembly, that is, fixing components into place. Beautiful black polished swan's neck fine regulator, and this is essentially all you need. 3 hands and so much more. There are grand complications that have fewer moving parts inside their case than you will find in this 3-hand watch. A limited series of 218, and one of the finest pieces Lange has created in its short modern history. An imminent collectible, and a watch to enjoy even if you're not counting your prospects for the future. This is the beautiful black dial white gold limited edition Lange Sohne Richard Lange pour le Merite with fusée and chain, available on our website.